Video game journalists will take any opportunity to trash the people they need to read their content. And you think to yourself, that doesn't sound like a winning strategy because it's not. But then they go and cry on social media about how they're losing their jobs. Well, newsflash, people don't support you anymore because you're all awful. And now PCGamer has put out this article titled Overwatch Players Freak Out Over Supposed Widowmaker Butt Nerf, proving that Marvel Rivals Gooner skins have wound the clock back 10 years. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, as a woman, I like to see attractive women in my content. I like to see attractive men in my content. That doesn't make me a gooner or a chud or a loser. I think most people want to see the height of, in some cases, humanity. Obviously, in games like Overwatch, there are characters that are not humans, but for argument's sake, let's say humanity. I think that it is perfectly fine to have sexy, athletic, strong female characters and hunky, masculine male characters when they're supposed to be representing like superheroes. They are not supposed to be realistic, and so that is perfectly fine. But to the access media, that's terrible because that means that, oh, they're sexualized, they're being objectified, and games like Marvel Rivals, for putting sexy skins in a game, that means that you are a gooner if you support them. And of course, we've seen the access media attack the developers, saying that they basically need to get laid and they need to go to horny jail. And it doesn't look like they're going to stop pushing that narrative anytime soon, especially with this latest article. It says, Overwatch 2's Street Fighter 6 collab has officially been announced, and the 8 new skins are ready to appear on the in-game shop today. And just on cue, some players are already finding issues with the skin. They won't be able to dethrone Marvel Rivals by having a half-assed cami skin, one player says, pun intended. If you know, you know. It says, I jest, but seeing players complain about the size of Widowmaker's butt in the new cami skin has dragged me back to 2016, when all the controversy about Blizzard shrinking Tracer's rear was all anyone could talk about. Just a couple of days after Overwatch first released it back in 2016, the devs had to cut a victory pose after fan backlash saying it was over-sexualizing the character. If you complain about the way the developers designed a skin for a character, I don't think that you are really a fan. Overwatch was not an existing franchise that, happened to get a reboot or a remake or a sequel. At that point, it was brand new, and so there weren't really fans by that point, or people that I would consider to be fans. Sure, you might like the game, but it was new, and a couple of weeks after release, yes, they had actually removed this pose. Now, the access media wants to paint it as fan backlash and people who are uncomfortable with the over-sexualization of the character. They basically had bent the knee to a group of sensitive snowflakes on social media who were complaining in one single thread. It wasn't like half the internet was in an uproar over this. It was a few specific people. Blizzard had said that they would remove an over-the-shoulder victory pose by the Overwatch hero Tracer following a complaint on the Battle.net forums. I mean, this was the article written by PCGamer in 2016. I never had a problem with this. I don't think that most people should have ever had a problem with this. I mean, we're talking about a fictional character, and you happen to have a pose where you see a little bit more of her butt than normal. Like, this does not look ridiculous, in my opinion. It's simply an over-the-shoulder pose, but there were a couple of people who were really triggered over that, and then they removed it. And people were upset back then because it was censorship. The same reason why they are upset now. The access media wants you to believe that if you complain about censorship, you're just being a little bitch, that you're complaining for no reason, but that is absurd. If you are criticizing censorship, you have a very valid reason to criticize the developers. We aren't looking at a Widowmaker pose here. This isn't a character who is in part defined by flaunting her sexuality. This pose says to the player base, we've got all these cool, diverse characters, but at any moment we were willing to reduce them to sex symbols. Yeah, that was their argument then, and it's basically their same argument now. I thought we'd move on from breaking out the compass and ruler every time a hero gets released or has a new skin, but apparently not. I suppose Marvel Rivals has been feeding the Gooners as of late, so maybe we can point the blame over there. The developers on Marvel Rivals clearly know what gamers want. They know what their fan base wants, and they're simply trying to give them that content. See, your outlets would be surviving if you were doing the same thing, if you were covering stories people were interested in, if you actually tried to understand people's opinions and where they're coming from, but you never do. You believe that you are better than your readers, which is why there's such a massive disconnect there. It says, though, thankfully, while there are a weird number of complaints about Blizzard censoring Widowmaker's Cammy skin as players have become emboldened by Rival's unabashed approach, there are more players willing to see the funny side in all of this. I don't think that it is funny that these developers were willing to censor this type of content. For people who claim to be feminists and standing with females, it's always very telling that they support the censorship of women. Okay, Blizzard is a company that's very well known for it. They've had a lot of accusations levied towards them in terms of not respecting their female employees, but even putting that aside, they turn female characters into bowls of fucking fruit. So when they go and they censor a female character's sexuality, you would think that these people would be a little bit more upset by that, but no, instead, you're a Gooner, and they're glad that you, as a Gooner, are not getting what you want. You can't look at pixels in a way that might bother the pixels' feelings. That is so insane. It is just mind-blowing to me that this is the hill that they are willing to die on. And keep in mind, PCGamer touts themselves as the global authority on PC games. Yeah, they love to be the authority. They love to have control. And PCGamer had, of course, shared this over on their X. For an account with 3.3 million followers, it's got 16 likes. That is just so funny to me. They're so irrelevant now. And most of the comments are roasting them. My, how PCGamer has slid. What's wrong with wanting hot characters? Good. Gaming was better 10 years ago. Go woke, go broke. This was really stupid to say. People hate what gaming and devs are doing now. Welcome to what gaming was before weirdos destroyed it. If anything, these people who like current standards are the problem. Gamers just want a reset back to what it was before these weirdos came in. Yeah, I mean, part of it are the feminists within this industry. People who, unfortunately, do not want men to enjoy their favorite hobby. They just want to, of course, control what men see and control what developers are creating. That's why people like Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn are legitimate grifters, because they came into this industry wanting to affect it in a negative way. They never cared about video games or gamers and what we wanted. They simply cared about finding a way to make money and ultimately control an industry. Now, people point and laugh at them whenever they see their faces pop up in articles or on books or in interviews about the gaming industry, but there's more and more people like them that are in this space every single day. And as I always say on this channel, censorship is a very slippery slope. If you give companies an inch, they will take a mile. You might say to yourself, sure, adding a little bit of black fabric underneath their outfit isn't that big of a deal, but well, oh, it's just a little bit of fabric around her thighs. Then it turns into, it's just a little bit of black fabric around her cleavage. Then it turns into, she's in a full-blown bodysuit of black fabric. Then you turn around and you see that she's in a burqa. It is a slippery slope, and we cannot give these companies the wiggle room, because they will always exploit their audience. They will always take advantage of our kindness, and that is a major problem. We've seen so much censorship in video games over the past couple of years, so you might think to yourself, this really isn't that big of a deal, but first of all, if it wasn't that big of a deal, why did they change it in the first place? And second of all, one day, this will eventually happen to a franchise you care about as well. So I will be keeping my eye on this. I don't think that Blizzard's going to make any sort of official statement on this, and PCGamer just wants to call us Gooners yet again simply for not being happy with censorship. But the more times that we let this slide, the more times companies will censor. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.